The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, Earth Standard Time. General Taeyang stood in the command center, watching the holographic display flicker to life. The alien face that appeared was unlike anything most humans had seen before. It had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern, skin that shimmered like oil on water, and a mouth that moved in ways that seemed wrong. "Humans of Earth," the alien said, its voice translated by the computer into flat, emotionless words. "I am High Chancellor Vreen of the Galactic Empire. For 10,000 years we have maintained peace and order across 847 worlds. You have entered our territory without permission. You have built colonies on worlds that belong to the Empire. This cannot stand." Taeyang felt his jaw tighten, but his face remained calm. Around him, other officers watched in silence. Admiral Hyejin stood to his left, her arms crossed. General Minho was on his right, taking notes on a tablet. Commander Jiwoo watched from the back of the room, her eyes never leaving the alien's face. "We offer you one chance," the alien continued. "Submit to Imperial rule. Accept our governors. Pay tribute. Obey our laws. If you refuse, we will remove you from these worlds by force. You have 30 days to decide." The message ended. The hologram disappeared. For a long moment, nobody spoke. "Well," Admiral Hyejin said finally, "that was direct." "How many ships do they have?" Taeyang asked. Commander Jiwoo stepped forward. "Our intelligence suggests the Empire controls thousands of star systems. Their military probably numbers in the hundreds of thousands of ships, maybe millions. We've identified at least 50 different alien species in their fleet compositions." "And we have?" General Minho asked, though he already knew the answer. 312 ships capable of deep space combat," Hyejin said. "Another 1,000 or so support vessels, transports, and colony ships. 15 major colonies. Earth. That's it." Taeyang walked to the large window overlooking the command center floor. Hundreds of people worked at their stations below, unaware of what had just happened. Soon, everyone would know. The news would spread like fire. "They think we'll surrender," he said quietly. "Will we?" asked a voice from the doorway. Diplomat Yunji entered the room, her face pale. "General, I've been reviewing everything we know about the Empire. They've conquered hundreds of species. Some fought back, all of them lost. All of them are now part of the Empire, whether they wanted to be or not." Taeyang turned to face her. "You think we should accept their terms?" Yunji hesitated. "I think we should consider all options. A war against the Empire would cost millions of lives. Billions, maybe. Our entire species could be wiped out." "And if we surrender?" Minho asked. "What then? We become slaves? We give up our freedom? We let them control how we live, where we go, what we can say?" "We would survive," Yunji said. "Sometimes survival is enough." Hyejin laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Survival as what? As pets? As servants? I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees." "Easy to say when you're not the one who has to tell families their children are dead," Yunji shot back. "Enough," Taeyang said, his voice quiet but firm. Everyone fell silent. "Yunji, I understand your concerns, but let me ask you something. If we surrender now, what happens the next time they demand something? What happens when they want more tribute, more control? When does it end?" Yunji had no answer. Taeyang turned to Commander Jiwoo. "What do we know about how they fight?" Jiwoo brought up files on the main display. "They fight like everyone else in the galaxy, apparently. Big fleets, direct confrontations, overwhelming force. Their military doctrine is ancient, based on traditions going back thousands of years. They value honor in combat. They believe in fair fights between warriors." "Fair fights," Minho repeated, a strange smile crossing his face. "They want fair fights." "What are you thinking?" Taeyang asked. Minho looked at the others. Humans don't fight fair. We never have. Every war we've ever fought against each other taught us something. We learned to ambush, to deceive, to hit where the enemy is weak and run when they're strong. We learned that honor doesn't win wars. Victory wins wars. They'll call us cowards, Yunji said. Let them, Hyejin said. They can call us whatever they want. If we're alive to hear it, that means we won. Taiyang walked back to the display showing known Imperial fleet positions. So many ships, so many worlds. The Empire was vast, ancient, powerful. Humanity was young, small, weak by comparison. Every logical calculation said they should surrender, but logic wasn't everything. I've been a soldier for 30 years, Taiyang said. I've studied every war in human history. I've read about ancient battles and modern conflicts. And I've learned something important. The bigger force doesn't always win. The stronger army isn't always victorious. Wars are won by the side that wants it more, by the side that's willing to do whatever it takes, by the side that refuses to quit, no matter how bad things get. He turned to face his officers. The Empire thinks they know us. They've studied our history. They've seen our wars. They think we're primitive, violent, easy to predict, but they've made a mistake. They think our history makes us weak. I think it makes us dangerous. What are you saying? Yunji asked. I'm saying we don't surrender, Taiyang said. I'm saying we fight, not their way, our way. We make them regret they ever heard of humanity. We teach them that starting a war with humans is the worst mistake they could ever make. Hyejin grinned. Now we're talking. But how? Yunji asked. They outnumber us thousands to one. That's their weakness, Minho said. They're too big, too spread out. They can't be everywhere at once. And they fight by rules. We don't have to. Jiwoo nodded. I can start working on intelligence operations, find their weaknesses, learn their secrets. Every empire has cracks. We just need to find them and break them wider. We'll need time, Taeyong said. Time to prepare, time to plan, time to make sure our people are ready for what's coming. 30 days, Hyejin said. That's what they gave us. Then we use every second, Taeyong replied. Send messages to all colonies. Begin evacuation of non-essential personnel from frontier worlds. Mobilize all reserves. Start war production. And someone get me a line to the United Earth Council. They need to vote on this. The vote came 3 days later. It wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive. Humanity would fight. On the 30th day, General Taiyang sent a message back to the Galactic Empire. It was short. Just 3 words, actually. Come and try. The war had begun. The Empire was about to learn what happened when you threatened humanity's freedom. They were about to discover that humans didn't fight wars to be honorable. They fought wars to win. The Imperial Third Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the new Busan system. War Master Krelvoth, a towering creature with 6 limbs and armored scales, watched his tactical display with satisfaction. 10,000 warships, the largest battle fleet ever assembled for a single invasion. This would be quick. Scan the system, he ordered. Locate all human military assets. His sensor officer worked quickly. War Master, I'm detecting approximately 60 human vessels. Mixed classes. They're in orbit around the 3rd planet, the colony world. 60 ships against 10,000. Krelvoth felt almost disappointed. Open a channel. Offer them one final chance to surrender. The human commander who appeared on screen wore a simple uniform. Colonel Daehyun looked tired, but his eyes were steady. War Master Krelvoth, we've been expecting you. Then you know resistance is pointless, Krelvoth said. Surrender now and your people will be spared. Daehyun smiled slightly. I have a counteroffer. Turn around and go home. Save yourself the trouble. Several officers on the Imperial Bridge made sounds of amusement. The arrogance of these humans was almost charming. You have 1 hour, Krelvoth said, ending the transmission. 59 minutes later, the human ships began moving, but they weren't advancing to fight. They were retreating, pulling back toward the planet. They're running already, one officer said. Krelvoth frowned. Something felt wrong. Advance slowly, full tactical scans, watch for weapons platforms or mines. The Imperial fleet moved forward in perfect formation, a wall of ships advancing like an unstoppable tide. They reached the orbit where the human ships had been positioned. Nothing. No mines. No traps. Just empty space. The human vessels are entering the planet's atmosphere, the sensor officer reported. They're landing. They're abandoning their ships? Krelvoth couldn't believe it. What kind of military abandoned their spacecraft? War Master, another officer called out. I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface, multiple locations. The signatures are... I think they're reactor cores. Lots of them. Overloading. Understanding hit Krelvoth like a physical blow. Full reverse! All ships, emergency retreat! But it was too late. The planet's surface erupted in light. Every reactor, every power plant, every fusion core in the colony detonated simultaneously. The explosion wasn't nuclear, but it didn't need to be. The electromagnetic pulse washed over the Imperial fleet like a wave. Ships began dying. Not all of them. Not even most. But the ones closest to the planet found their shields failing, their weapons offline, their systems scrambling. In the chaos, automated defense satellites that had been sitting dormant suddenly activated. Missiles launched from hidden positions on the planet's moons. Return fire, Krelvoth ordered. All batteries, fire at will. The Imperial fleet responded, their superior firepower reducing the satellites and missile platforms to dust within minutes. But the damage was done. 73 ships destroyed, another 200 damaged. War Master, the communications officer said hesitantly. The humans are broadcasting a message, audio only. Play it. Colonel Dae-hyun's voice filled the bridge. Welcome to New Busan, War Master. Or what's left of it. By the time you hear this, my people will be gone, evacuated. Every civilian, every soldier. We destroyed everything we built rather than let you have it. This is lesson 1. You cannot conquer what we will not give you. Every world you take from us will cost you. Every victory will hurt. We will make you pay for every meter of space, every drop of water, every breath of air. This is a war of attrition now, and we're very, very good at making things expensive. The message ended. Krelvoth stared at his tactical display. The colony was gone, destroyed by its own people. The humans had vanished, and he had lost nearly 100 ships to an enemy that had already retreated. This was not how wars were supposed to be fought. Over the next 6 months, the pattern repeated across 17 systems. The Empire would arrive with overwhelming force. The humans would fight just long enough to be annoying, then retreat. Every battle ended with an Imperial victory. Every victory cost more ships than it should have. Captain Salmon commanded one of humanity's few remaining cruisers. Her ship, the Defiant, was small and fast and equipped with experimental technology that Command had installed 3 weeks ago. Technology the Empire didn't know about. Are we ready? She asked her crew. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Borum, nodded. The signal generators are online. They'll broadcast fake fleet signatures. The Empire's sensors won't be able to tell the difference between us and 100 ships. Excellent. Soman studied the star map. We're going to do something crazy. We're going to split the Empire's fleet. She activated the first signal generator and jumped to a system near the Empire's supply lines. Imperial sensors detected what appeared to be a large human fleet entering their territory. They scrambled 3 battle groups to respond, but when they arrived, there was nothing, just empty space. Soman was already gone. Jumping to another system. She activated another signal generator, another fake fleet. The Empire detected it and sent more ships to investigate. For 2 weeks, Captain Soman and the Defiant danced through Imperial space. She never fired a shot. She never engaged in combat. She just appeared, created the illusion of a fleet, and vanished before anyone could catch her. The Empire was forced to spread their forces across 12 systems, chasing ghosts. Real human strike forces used this distraction to hit supply convoys, destroying fuel depots and ammunition stockpiles. Ships that should have been reinforcing frontline units were scattered across half the sector, hunting phantoms. When Soman finally returned to Earth, Admiral Hyejin herself was waiting on the dock. "You just tied up 30,000 Imperial ships chasing shadows," Hyejin said. "That was beautiful." "Just doing my job, Admiral," Soman replied, but she was smiling. In the command center, General Taeyang reviewed the strategic situation with his staff. On the surface, things looked bad. The Empire had captured 17 colony systems. Human forces were in constant retreat. Casualties were mounting. But Taeyang saw something else. He saw an empire that was confused, frustrated, off balance. "They're starting to argue among themselves," Commander Jiwoo reported. "Our intelligence shows increasing tension in Imperial communications. Some species think the war is too expensive. Others think they're not being aggressive enough. They're not used to enemies that fight this way." "Good," Minho said. "Confusion is a weapon. If they don't understand us, they can't predict us." "What about morale?" Yunji asked. She had accepted her role as liaison between the military and civilian government, even though she still hated the war. "Our people are dying. Our colonies are gone." "Our people are angry," Taeyang corrected gently. "Anger is fuel. It keeps us fighting. The Empire expects us to break, to give up, to lose hope. But humans don't work that way. The harder they push, the harder we push back." A junior officer approached with a priority message. "General, we've intercepted an Imperial communique. It's from War Master Krelvoth to the High Council. He's requesting reinforcements. He says human tactics are," and I quote, "dishonorable, unpredictable, and highly effective." Laughter rippled through the command center. Even Taeyang allowed himself a small smile. "Dishonorable," he repeated. "They're starting to understand." Admiral Hyejin pulled up a display showing their next operation. "Operation Thunderfall is ready. We've identified 200 Imperial support stations across their supply network. Small targets, lightly defended. We hit them all at once." 200 simultaneous strikes, Minho said. "They won't know where to respond first." "Exactly," Hyejin confirmed. "We can't match their fleet in open battle, but we can be everywhere and nowhere. We can make them afraid, make them defensive, force them to protect everything, which means they protect nothing effectively." Taeyang nodded. "Execute the operation and send a message to all human forces. Tell them this: the Empire is strong, but strength has limits. They can destroy our colonies, but they cannot destroy our will. Every battle they win makes them weaker. Every ship they lose is one they cannot replace quickly. We are teaching them fear, and soon they will learn that fighting humanity was the worst decision they ever made." The message went out. Across human-controlled space, ships prepared for the offensive. Crews checked weapons. Pilots reviewed their targets. Soldiers said goodbye to loved ones. War Master Krelvoth sat alone in his command chamber, reviewing casualty reports. The numbers didn't make sense. His fleet was winning every battle, yet somehow they were losing the war. He thought about Colonel Daehyun's words. Every victory will hurt. The human had been right, and Krelvoth was beginning to understand something that terrified him. These humans didn't fight to win battles. They fought to make war itself unbearable, and they were very, very good at it. 6 months into the war, Admiral Hyejin stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Indomitable. Around her, the strike fleet waited in the darkness between stars. 50 ships. It wasn't many, but it would be enough. "All vessels report ready," her communications officer said. Hyejin studied the tactical display one more time. Operation Thunderfall was ambitious, maybe even crazy. Instead of defending their remaining colonies or fighting for territory, they would attack. Not the Empire's military. That would be suicide. No, they would attack something better. Supply lines. "The Empire is like a massive creature," General Taeyang had explained during the planning session. "It needs to eat constantly to survive. Food, fuel, ammunition, replacement parts. All of it has to move through space on cargo ships. If we cut off those supplies, the military starves." Now Hyejin was about to test that theory. Her fleet would jump to an Imperial supply hub in Sector 7. At the same time, 49 other human strike forces would hit targets across 200 star systems. The Empire couldn't possibly defend everything. "All ships," she said calmly. "Jump." Space twisted. Reality bent. The fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel directly on top of the supply station. It was massive, a construction of metal and lights the size of a small moon. Hundreds of cargo ships were docked at its ports. "Open fire," Hyejin ordered. The human ships unleashed everything they had. Missiles, energy weapons, kinetic rounds. The supply station's shields flickered under the assault. Defensive platforms began to respond, but they were designed to stop pirates, not a coordinated military strike. "Target the fuel storage," Hyejin directed. "Make it hurt." A cluster of missiles penetrated the shields and slammed into the station's main fuel depot. The explosion was spectacular. Fire bloomed in the vacuum of space as thousands of tons of refined fuel ignited. The station began breaking apart. "Imperial reinforcements incoming," the sensor officer warned. 20 ships, 5 minutes out." "We don't need 5 minutes," Hyejin said. "All ships withdraw. Mission accomplished." The fleet jumped away, leaving the burning station behind. Reports came in from the other strike forces. Most had been successful. Some had faced heavier resistance. But the damage was done. 200 supply stations, fuel depots, and logistics hubs destroyed or crippled in a single day. The Empire would feel this for months. In the command center on Earth, General Minho reviewed intelligence reports from Commander Jiwoo. What he was reading made him smile, something rare these days. "The Empire isn't as unified as they pretend," Jiwoo explained, pulling up files on the main display. "They're a coalition of 847 species, remember? Each one has its own military traditions, its own command structure. They barely coordinate with each other." "Barely?" Minho asked. "See for yourself." Jiwoo played an intercepted communication. 2 alien commanders were arguing, their translated voices sharp with frustration. "Your ships refuse to follow proper formation protocols." "Your protocols are outdated. They waste time and resources. This is why your species should never have been given fleet command." The argument continued for several minutes before someone finally ended the transmission. Minho laughed. "They hate each other." "More than that," Jiwoo said. "They have ancient rivalries, old wars. Some of these species fought each other for centuries before the Empire conquered them all. The only thing keeping them together is the threat of the Empire's punishment if they step out of line." "Then we give them a reason to step out of line," Minho said. "We make the war so costly that staying in the Empire hurts more than leaving it." "How?" Minho thought for a moment. "We target specific species. Make some battles more expensive for certain groups. Send their captured soldiers home with stories about how their lives don't matter to the Empire. Create doubt. Create division." "That's psychological warfare," Jiwoo said. "It'll take time." "We have time," Minho replied. "The Empire thinks they're winning. Let them think that while we plant seeds of doubt." Lieutenant Yuna commanded a destroyer squadron, 6 small ships that had been operating behind enemy lines for 3 weeks. They had survived by being smart, fast, and lucky. Now, they were about to do something incredibly dangerous. There's an Imperial battle group moving through the Kepler Nebula, her tactical officer reported. 3,000 ships. They're taking a shortcut to reinforce Sector 9. Una studied the nebula's composition. Dense gas clouds. Radiation. Perfect. How long would it take us to mine the nebula? She asked. Her weapons officer looked up in surprise. Mine it? With what? We don't have that many mines. We don't need mines, Una said slowly. We just need antimatter. Understanding dawned on her crew's faces. It was insane, brilliant, but insane. We dump our antimatter reserves into the densest parts of the nebula, Una continued. Just small amounts, not enough to detonate immediately. But when 3,000 Imperial ships come through with their shields up and weapons hot, all that energy will trigger a chain reaction, her weapons officer finished. The entire nebula will explode. Can we do it? Una asked. Her crew looked at each other. They were tired. They were scared. They had been running and fighting for weeks, but they were also angry. And they wanted to hurt the Empire. Let's make it happen, her executive officer said. It took them 16 hours to carefully position antimatter charges throughout the nebula. Small amounts, suspended in magnetic containers that would fail when exposed to the right energy signature. When they were done, Una's squadron retreated to a safe distance. Now we wait, she said. 2 days later, the Imperial battle group entered the nebula. War Master Krelvoth was with them, commanding from his flagship. He had been ordered to reach Sector 9 quickly. The humans were causing problems there. The nebula slowed them down, but only slightly. Shields protected against the radiation. Sensors helped navigate through the dense gas clouds. They were halfway through when the first antimatter charge detonated. It was just a small explosion. Barely noticeable, but it triggered a reaction in the surrounding gas. That explosion triggered another antimatter charge, then another, then another. Within seconds, the entire nebula was a storm of fire and energy. Imperial shields failed under the assault. Ships collided in the chaos. Fusion cores overloaded. The carefully organized battle group became a disaster. When it was over, Krelvoth counted his losses. 3,000 ships had entered the nebula. 700 emerged. The rest were debris. He had never seen anything like it. Never imagined an enemy would weaponize an entire nebula. The humans had turned a natural feature of space into the deadliest trap in the galaxy. Who did this? He demanded. Unknown, War Master, his sensor officer said. We detected 6 small human ships in the area 2 days ago, but we thought they were just scouts. 6 ships. 6 small, insignificant ships had destroyed an entire battle group. Krelvoth felt something he had not felt in decades of military service. Fear. The news of the Kepler Nebula massacre spread quickly. In the Imperial High Council, arguments broke out immediately. This is unacceptable, one council member declared. We've lost over 40,000 ships in 6 months. To an enemy with barely 300 combat vessels, another added. How is this possible? The humans don't fight like civilized species, a third council member said. They use tricks, deception. They have no honor. Honor doesn't matter if we're dead, someone else muttered. The arguments grew louder. Several species began questioning whether the war was worth the cost. The Vole Collective, a peaceful species that had been conquered by the Empire centuries ago, sent a formal message. We are withdrawing our ships from this conflict, their representative announced. The Empire promised protection and prosperity. This war brings neither. We will no longer sacrifice our people for a fight that serves no purpose. It was unprecedented. No species had withdrawn from an imperial war in living memory. The High Council was furious, but they couldn't stop it. The Vole ships left the front lines and returned home. Other species watched carefully. If the Vole could leave without immediate punishment, maybe they could too. Back on Earth, General Taeyang received the news about the Vole withdrawal with quiet satisfaction. The cracks are showing, he said to his officers. The Empire is breaking. We're still losing colonies, diplomat Yunji reminded him. Our casualties are still high. But we're still fighting, Taeyang replied. And every day we fight, the Empire loses more than ships. They lose confidence. They lose unity. They lose the belief that they're invincible. Admiral Hyejin entered the command center, her uniform still showing scorch marks from her last mission. What's our next move? Taeyang smiled. We keep doing exactly what we're doing. We hit them where they're weak. We avoid where they're strong. We make every victory cost more than it's worth. We make them doubt themselves. And if they adapt, Minho asked, if they learn to fight like we do? Then we adapt faster, Taeyang said simply. That's what humans do. We adapt. We evolve. We survive. The Empire has been fighting the same way for thousands of years. We've been fighting each other for our entire history. We know 1,000 ways to kill, 1,000 ways to win, and we're about to teach them all. Commander Jiwoo pulled up new intelligence reports. General, I have something interesting. We've identified the location of the Empire's central command station. It's deep in Imperial space, heavily defended, but if we could reach it, we could do serious damage. Hyejin finished. Taeyang studied the coordinates. It was deep behind enemy lines. Probably a suicide mission. But if they could pull it off, the psychological impact would be enormous. Start planning, he said. Find me a way to reach that station. Find me a way to make the Empire realize they made a terrible mistake. War Master Krelvoth sat in his quarters, staring at casualty reports. The numbers kept growing. 42,000 ships lost. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers dead. Supply lines in chaos. Alliance members withdrawing. And the humans? They kept fighting, kept adapting, kept finding new ways to hurt the Empire. He had once thought this would be an easy war. Now he wasn't sure it was a war they could win. 1 year into the war, the Galactic Empire controlled 40 human colony systems. On paper, they were winning. But War Master Krelvoth knew the truth. They were dying slowly, bleeding ships and soldiers with every passing day. The High Council was fracturing. 8 species had withdrawn from the coalition. 3 more were openly questioning the war's purpose. Arguments broke out during every council session. Some members wanted total human extermination, others wanted negotiated peace. A few wanted to withdraw entirely and pretend the humans didn't exist. We need to end this, Krelvoth told the council via holographic transmission. Every day we fight, we lose more than we gain. Then fight harder, one council member demanded. Use more ships, be more aggressive. We've committed over 60,000 vessels, Krelvoth replied, his voice tight with frustration. We've lost 40,000 of them. The humans have adapted to every tactic we've used. They don't fight us directly. They hit our supplies, assassinate our officers, spread propaganda among our troops. They're turning this into a war of attrition, and they're winning. Impossible, another council member said. They're primitives, savages. Then these savages are smarter than us, Krelvoth said bluntly, and unless something changes, they will outlast us. The council erupted into arguments. Krelvoth ended the transmission and returned to his command chamber. He was tired, more tired than he had ever been. On Earth, Commander Jiwoo stood before General Taeyang with the information they had been seeking for months. We found it, she said. The Empire's central command station. It's in the Tellus system, 500 light-years behind enemy lines, heavily defended, shielded. They think it's secret. But we know where it is, Taeyang said. We know where it is, Jiwoo confirmed. And I have a plan, a crazy plan, but it might work. Admiral Hyejin leaned forward. I'm listening. We don't attack the station, Jiwoo explained. We infiltrate it. We've captured dozens of Imperial ships over the past year. We use them. We send a small team deep into Imperial space, pretending to be one of their supply convoys. When we reach the station, we don't blow it up. We steal their data. What data? General Minho asked. Jiwoo smiled. Everything. Communication logs, strategic plans, financial records, evidence of corruption, war crimes, all the dirty secrets the Empire doesn't want anyone to know. Then we broadcast it. To everyone. Every species in the Empire, every conquered world. We show them what their leaders really are. Taeyang was quiet for a long moment. That could work, but it's incredibly dangerous. Anyone we send might not come back. I'm aware, Jiwoo said. I'll lead the team myself. Absolutely not, Taeyang said immediately. You're too valuable. Which is exactly why I need to go, Jiwoo argued. I know what to look for. I know how their systems work. And if this mission fails, the people we send need to be able to think on their feet. That's me. Taeyang looked at Hyejin, then at Minho. Both nodded slightly. Pick your team, Taeyang said finally. May luck be with you. 2 weeks later, Captain Dong-hyun guided his captured Imperial transport ship through enemy territory. The ship was authentic, taken intact during a raid 3 months ago. It still had its original identification codes. As far as Imperial sensors were concerned, it was just another supply vessel. In the cargo hold, Commander Jiwoo reviewed the mission one more time with her team. 12 people. The best infiltration specialists humanity had. They wore modified Imperial uniforms, carried Imperial weapons, and had studied alien behaviors until they could mimic them convincingly. Remember, Jiwoo said, we're not here to fight. We're here to steal information and leave. If something goes wrong, if we're discovered, we scatter. Everyone tries to make it home however they can. Major Sora checked her equipment one more time. And if we can't make it home, then we make sure the mission succeeds anyway, Jiwoo said quietly. This is bigger than any of us. They reached the telesystem without incident. The command station appeared on their sensors, a massive structure orbiting a gas giant. Hundreds of ships surrounded it. Security was tight. Imperial Control, this is transport vessel Kreshvala, Captain Dong-hyun said in perfect alien speech. Requesting docking clearance. We're carrying critical supplies for the station. There was a pause. Jiwoo held her breath. Clearance granted, Kreshvala. Proceed to docking bay 7. They were in. Docking procedures took 20 minutes. Guards inspected their cargo, standard supplies that wouldn't raise suspicion. The team disembarked, playing their roles perfectly. Just another delivery crew. We have 4 hours, Jiwoo whispered through their encrypted communications. That's when this ship is scheduled to depart. Find the central data core. The station was huge, a maze of corridors and chambers. Thousands of personnel worked here, coordinating the Empire's military operations across hundreds of star systems. Jiwoo's team split up, each person moving toward a different objective. She found the data core 30 minutes later. It was protected by security systems, but she had expected that. Human intelligence had been studying Imperial technology for a year. She knew their weaknesses. Her fingers flew across the interface, bypassing security protocols. Data began downloading to her portable storage device. Communications logs, strategic plans, financial records, everything. Commander, Major Sora's voice came through her earpiece. I found something. You need to see this. I'm downloading data, Jiwoo replied. Can it wait? No, this is bad, really bad. Jiwoo hesitated, then left the download running and made her way to Sora's location. She found her teammate in what appeared to be a records room. Look at this, Sora said, pulling up files on a terminal. These are records of what the Empire did to conquered species, forced labor, experimentation, genocide of populations that resisted too strongly. They're not peacekeepers, they're monsters. Jiwoo felt cold. Copy everything, all of it. The galaxy needs to see this. They returned to the data core just as the download completed. Jiwoo disconnected her device and began covering her tracks, erasing evidence that anyone had accessed the system. "All teams report," she whispered into her communicator. One by one, her people confirmed they were ready to leave, except for 2. No response. "Team 3, report," Jiwoo said again. Still nothing. "Commander, we need to go." Donghyun's voice came through. "Station security just increased alert status. Something's wrong." They had been discovered. Jiwoo made a decision. "All teams return to the ship now. Emergency departure." They ran. Not obviously. Not in a way that would immediately alert guards, but quickly, purposefully. Behind them, alarms began to sound. "Intruders detected on level 7. Security breach in the data core." The station came alive. Guards poured into corridors. Blast doors began closing. Jiwoo's team fought their way toward the docking bay. They couldn't avoid combat now. Weapons came out. Energy bolts filled the air. 2 more team members went down. Captain Donghyun had the ship ready when they arrived. 7 survivors out of 12. Jiwoo uploaded the stolen data to the ship's computer as they ran aboard. "Go!" she shouted. The transport ship blasted out of the docking bay, shields already taking fire. Imperial ships began pursuing immediately. "We'll never outrun them," Donghyun said. "There are too many." "We don't need to outrun them," Jiwoo replied. She activated the ship's communication array at maximum power. "We just need to survive long enough to transmit." "Transmit what?" "Everything." She began broadcasting, not to humanity, not to their military, to everyone, every frequency, every communication channel used by the Empire. The stolen data flooded across Imperial networks. On 800 worlds, people received the transmission. They saw the financial records showing council members stealing from their own people. They saw the war crime documentation. They saw proof that the Empire had fabricated the territorial dispute with humanity as an excuse for conquest. They saw everything. The effect was immediate. Protests broke out on dozens of worlds. Military units refused orders. 3 species declared independence in a single day. The Imperial transport ship didn't make it home. Too many enemy vessels, too much damage. But before it was destroyed, Jiwoo managed to send one final message to Earth. "Mission accomplished. Data transmitted. Tell General Taeyang. Tell him we lit the fire." On the command station, War Master Krell Voth watched his empire crumbling in real time. The humans hadn't destroyed the station. They had done something worse. They had destroyed the lie that held the empire together. In the Imperial High Council, panic set in. 12 more species announced withdrawal from the coalition. 3 formerly conquered species openly rebelled. 2 declared neutrality. "This is a disaster," one council member screamed. "The humans have destroyed us." "Not destroyed," another said quietly. "Exposed. They showed everyone what we really are." The meeting dissolved into chaos. The Galactic Empire, an institution that had lasted 10,000 years, was collapsing. On Earth, diplomat Yunji stood before the Galactic Communication Array. General Taeyang had asked her to deliver humanity's message to the galaxy. She took a breath and began. "People of the galaxy," she said, "humanity did not choose this war. We were invaded, threatened, told to submit or die. We chose to fight, not because we love war, but because we love freedom. The Empire thought they could break us. Instead, we broke the chains they placed on all of you. The Empire is not your protector. They never were. They are conquerors who convinced you that slavery was safety. But today, you have seen the truth, and now you must choose. Will you remain slaves? Or will you stand up and take your freedom?" The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, oppressed species made their choice. The Empire was dying, and humanity had killed it without firing the final shot. They had simply shown everyone the truth. 18 months after the war began, the Galactic Empire existed in name only. Half its member species had withdrawn or openly rebelled. The imperial military, once numbering in the hundreds of thousands of ships, was fractured and demoralized. Species that had fought together for centuries now fought against each other as old hatreds resurfaced. War Master Krelvoth stood alone on the bridge of his flagship. Most of his officers were gone, recalled to defend their homeworlds. The Grand Imperial Fleet had become a shadow of itself. "War Master," his communications officer said quietly. "The High Council is requesting your presence, via hologram." Krelvoth activated the transmission. Only 5 council members remained. The others had fled or been overthrown by their own people. "War Master," the lead council member said, "we require a status report on the human situation." Krelvoth almost laughed. "The human situation? The situation is that we have lost. Completely. Utterly." "That's impossible," another council member protested. "We still have ships. We have nothing," Krelvoth interrupted. "The humans didn't defeat us militarily. They defeated us psychologically. They showed the galaxy that we were vulnerable, that we could be resisted, that we were not the protectors we claimed to be. Now, species that were loyal for thousands of years are turning against us. Not because the humans conquered them, because we did, long ago, and they finally have the courage to fight back." The council members had no response. "There is only one option left," Krelvoth said. "Surrender. End this war before more lives are wasted." "Never," one council member hissed. "We would rather die than submit to these primitives." "Then you will die," Krelvoth said, "because I am done fighting a war we cannot win." He ended the transmission. For the first time in his life, War Master Krelvoth disobeyed a direct order. He would not sacrifice more lives for an empire that was already dead. General Tai Yang received the news in his command center. Admiral Hyejin stood beside him, along with General Minho and what remained of Commander Jiwoo's intelligence staff. Jiwoo herself was gone, killed in the mission to the command station. Her sacrifice had changed everything. "Imperial forces are withdrawing from 6 systems," an officer reported. "They're pulling back to their core territories." "How many ships do they have left?" Taeyang asked. "Intelligence estimates around 20,000 combat-capable vessels, but they're scattered, disorganized. Many species are refusing to follow Imperial command." Hyejin studied the strategic display. "We could push forward, drive into their core territories, finish this." "We could," Taeyang agreed. "But should we?" The question hung in the air. They had fought for 18 months, lost thousands of ships, millions of people. Their colonies were destroyed. Earth itself had been bombed twice. The cost had been enormous. "What are you suggesting?" Minho asked. "I'm suggesting we remember why we fought," Taeyang said. "We didn't fight to conquer the Empire. We fought for freedom, to survive. If we invade their homeworlds now, we become what they were, conquerors." "So we just let them go?" Hyejin asked. "After everything they did?" "No," Taeyang said. "We offer them terms, surrender, war crimes tribunals for their leadership, reparations, and most importantly, freedom for all the species they've oppressed. We don't destroy the Empire. We transform it into something better." Diplomat Yunji entered the command center. She had become the voice of humanity to the galaxy, speaking for Earth in the new galactic order that was emerging. "The former Imperial species are asking for guidance," she said. "They want to know what happens next. Many of them have never been independent. They don't know how to govern themselves." "We help them," Taeyang said. "We share what we know, but we don't rule them. That would make us no better than the Empire." 3 days later, General Taeyang's fleet arrived at Empire Prime, the Imperial throne world. It was a beautiful planet, covered in cities that had stood for millennia. The remaining Imperial fleet was there, 20,000 ships arranged in defensive formation. Taiyang opened a communication channel. "This is General Taiyang of Earth. I'm requesting to speak with whoever is in command." War Master Krelvoth's face appeared on screen. He looked tired, older than his years. "General Taiyang," he said, "I wondered when you would arrive." "I'm here to offer terms," Taiyang said, "not as a conqueror, as someone who wants this war to end." Krelvoth listened as Taiyang outlined the conditions. Complete military stand-down, war crimes tribunals for imperial leadership who had committed atrocities, reparations to species that had been oppressed, freedom for all worlds to choose their own government. "And if we refuse?" Krelvoth asked. "Then we fight," Taiyang said. "And we win. But more people die. More worlds burn. More families lose loved ones. Is that what you want? Is your pride worth that cost?" Krelvoth was silent for a long time. Around him, his bridge crew watched and waited. "I have fought in wars for 50 years, Krelvoth said finally. "I have seen thousands of battles, won most of them, but I have never faced an enemy like humanity. You didn't defeat us with superior weapons or greater numbers. You defeated us with ideas, with the belief that freedom matters more than power, that survival through submission is not really survival at all." He took a breath. "You are right, General. This war is over. We surrender." The words echoed across the galaxy. The Galactic Empire, 10,000 years old, had fallen, but the work was just beginning. The Galactic Council was reformed over the following months. Representatives from every species, including humanity, gathered to create a new government, not an empire, a true coalition where all voices mattered. It wasn't easy. Species that had been enemies for centuries had to learn to work together. Old grudges resurfaced. Arguments broke out. Several times the entire process nearly collapsed. But slowly, painfully, something new emerged. A galaxy where power came not from military might but from cooperation, where disputes were resolved through discussion, not destruction. Admiral Hyejin took charge of training the new integrated fleets. Species that had fought against each other were now learning to fight together. It was difficult work, but she found it rewarding. General Minho oversaw peacekeeping forces, responding to conflicts that arose as the old order collapsed and the new one took shape. He was good at it, helping former enemies find peaceful solutions. War Master Krelvoth, surprisingly, asked to help. He knew the Empire's systems better than anyone. He knew where corruption had taken root, where injustice had flourished. The War Crimes Tribunal spared him, recognizing that he had ultimately chosen peace over pride. He worked with Minho, helping dismantle the systems of oppression that had defined the Empire for so long. 5 years after the war ended, General Taiyang stood in a garden on Earth. He had retired from military service, returning to his home. He was tired. The war had aged him. A young officer approached, Lieutenant Borum, recently promoted. She had survived the war and chosen to stay in the military. "General Taiyang," she said hesitantly, "may I ask you something?" "I'm not a general anymore," Taiyang said with a slight smile. "But yes, ask." "How did we win?" Borum asked. "Everyone said it was impossible. The Empire was too powerful, too vast. We were just one species. How did we survive?" Taiyang looked out at the garden, thinking about all the people who had died, all the sacrifices made. Commander Jiwoo, Captain Soman, Colonel Daehyun, Lieutenant Yuna, so many others. "We won because we understood something the Empire didn't," he said finally. "Wars aren't won by the strongest army or the biggest fleet. They're won by the side that refuses to quit, by the side that adapts faster than the enemy can respond, by the side that fights for something worth dying for." "Freedom," Borum said. "More than that," Taiyang replied. "The idea that every being deserves to choose their own path, that no species has the right to rule over another. The Empire thought their size and history gave them that right. We proved them wrong. He turned to face the young lieutenant. But here's the important part. We didn't win by being stronger than them. We won by making them realize that crushing us would cost everything they had. We made war itself unbearable. And then, when they finally understood, we offered them peace instead of revenge. Some people say we should have destroyed them completely, Borum said. Some people always want revenge, Taeyang agreed. But revenge doesn't build a better future. It just creates new enemies. We fought the Empire. We defeated them. But then we helped them become something better. That's the real victory. Borum was quiet, thinking about his words. The galaxy is different now, Taeyang continued. Not perfect. There are still problems, still conflicts. But species are talking to each other instead of conquering each other. That's progress. That's what we fought for. Do you think there will be another war? Borum asked. Taeyang sighed. Probably. Conflict is part of life. But maybe next time, people will remember what happened when the Empire tried to conquer humanity. Maybe they'll remember that size and power don't guarantee victory, that the spirit of freedom is stronger than the force of oppression. He smiled slightly. And if they forget, well, humanity will still be here to remind them. Borum saluted and left. Taeyang returned to watching his garden grow. Across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, life continued. Species that had been enemies were becoming friends. Technologies were being shared. Cultures were mixing. The pain of the war was slowly healing. In a small cafe on a liberated world, a human sat with an alien who had fought for the Empire. They were talking, sharing stories, laughing together. The human was teaching the alien about Earth's history. The alien was sharing tales of their home world. It wasn't much, just two people connecting. But it was enough. On Empire Prime, now renamed Unity Prime, War Master Krelvoth worked in an office helping organize reparations programs. He looked older now, worn by guilt and regret, but he was trying to make things right. A former Imperial soldier approached him. War Master, why do you help them? The humans. After everything that happened. Krelvoth looked up. Because they showed us something important. They showed us that the best victory isn't destroying your enemy. It's changing them. The humans could have wiped us out. Instead, they gave us a chance to become better. I'm trying to be worthy of that chance. Somewhere in deep space, Admiral Hyejin commanded a mixed fleet on patrol. Human ships flew alongside vessels from dozens of species. They were protecting trade routes, responding to emergencies, keeping peace. It wasn't the future anyone had expected, but it was a good one. General Taeyang's words had spread across the galaxy, repeated by many voices. You declared war on humanity, expecting us to be conquerors like you. You forgot that those who fight for freedom learn to fight smarter, harder, and with purpose beyond mere victory. You didn't lose to human weapons. You lost to human will. The war was over. The Empire was gone. But humanity's lesson remained. Freedom is worth fighting for, and those who fight for it will never be defeated, no matter the odds. The galaxy had learned, and it would never forget.